speech, and I'd like to thank all of our speakers. They deserve a round of applause. I'd now like to open the floor, so if anybody has any questions for the speakers on either side, they can ask them now. Yeah.
I am leaning towards one side, which is the no side, but I am open to an alternative view if I can be religious at some point. All people advocated for yes and paying the different arguments for the abolition of Seanad. However, all those arguments might be equally applied for reform Seanad because in our constitution, if you read it, our Seanad is mentioned 75 times, so you have to read the entire document to get a full information of what Seanad actually does. And one of our speakers actually questioned the rule clearly in our constitution, which to say that it's unreliable isn't actually true because there's a distinct rule which basically keeps a different rule to that of the law. So I think so like if we're going to talk about the abolition and if we're not going to talk about like opposing this reform, no one denounces the actual constitutional law. They're denouncing it as it is. Lorna made reference to the fact that Seanad has never been reformed, which is absolutely true. And there have been plenty of opportunity. I think we have 12 research papers on it. But the law is equally never been reformed. So I think it's all about the context here. The context is we have never, as a nation, had a serious debate about reform of our Seanad or our law. And I think people want to change the economic crisis. Most economic crisis is about policy issues, about financial issues. However, as a consequence of that, people want political and parliamentary reform as well, change. That's why we're having this debate now. It's not because we didn't want to hear about it in the past. Both Sinn Féin and Fianna Fáil said if there's a no vote, they will reform the Seanad. Fine Gael, if there's a no vote, Fine Gael aren't going to, they're politicians, they want to get elected, as the gentleman mentioned. They want to get back into power. Therefore, it's a no-brainer for them to come back with a reform package to get back into the law. I think in relation to the banking crisis, just to finish up with this one, in terms of the banking crisis, and like the Seanad didn't prevent mistakes, the Seanad made 523 amendments to Dalton bills in the past 2 years. In those amendments, they highlighted serious logistic, environmental, legal, social, and economic consequences that otherwise would have been missed by the law, possibly been challenged. That would have cost the Exchequer millions. It could have had massive social consequences as well. So, Minister Houlihan said in operating experts 2 weeks ago that in reality, the savings that we're going to make out of this are actually going to be are going to be put back into setting up tall commissions. And I think the first speaker for the essay mentioned the fact that it was a job for the boys, the Seanad was, but these new committees, their chairmen and so on will be appointed by the government. And therefore, that's, in my opinion, the job for the boys, where they are going to have full control over commission decisions and make sure that they are favourable in terms of the government's perspective. So, yes, that's my response to the speakers.
I wasn't sure that we were going to, but I'm happy to.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, there's a lot there, and you appreciate it. We've had a lot of debates about the Seanad, and it hasn't been very exciting, I think, for the public at large. This one's not very exciting, but it has been discussed for a long time. I think the problem is, irrespective of a particular opinion about it, is that it's difficult to well do. It's difficult to make things that are difficult at the time to put together. But we have had a lot of debates, and I think the argument, certainly that some of us is on the one hand that there's no reason historically to think that change is possible. There is, in fact, one small change back in 47, I think it was. So it's very minor, and there's no reason, again, to think based on history that there will be significant reform. On the other hand, I think that people mistake abolition as one of a number of types of reform. Clearly, there'll be a fallback position after the election. Now, you may simply believe that everyone in PDA, everyone who makes this argument simply doesn't believe what they're saying, but it is in principle. But the Seanad is irredeemable. There is no way to fix its fundamental problems. Again, the same reason we've had difficulty for 75 years doing it without. So that's a sincere belief. I can't speak for Sinn Féin. I wouldn't dare to. I didn't mean that's an insult. I mean, I can. Or the other political party I don't belong to. But it's not a simple matter as just, okay, well, now we've seen that we've lost the election. We've been humbled. Let's go ahead and throw a reform package together. Which one? There, in fact, are several. Larry, no doubt, disagrees. There is certainly a front-runner among them. But that front-runner, if you look at the numbers, might have the support of 20% of the population. Maybe. At least in the present moment, I don't see things can change. I don't see why they would. I think there's serious problems with it. I think those haven't brought to light. Certainly, if it became more serious, they would be even clearer. But the default proposal is fundamentally opposed to it. I mean, they simply cannot be merged. The Crown Bill can. I mean, the Crown Bill and the Queensland Bill, they can be put together. We're still talking about less than a quarter of the country supporting that proposal. So it's one thing to think that there might be some sort of urge for reform. It's another thing that it's possible. And it's not, and Larry and I talked about this at some length, that's not defeatist to my mind. That's realist. They're realistic. And if we want to get things done, we have to be realistic. We dream of a lot, but we do it to do things that are daily lives practical. And there has to be some balance. Again, Larry and I, in many ways, share political goals and ideals, I think. But I think we have different ways of going about them. I think that those things that have been proposed are simply not practical. And there's no reason at the moment, I think, that they would be successfully cobbled together into something like the reform act that would be passed. You got a dog's dinner at best. And it's, I'm not optimistic that I don't need it.
No, I mean, I think a lot of what you said, the implication of a lot of what you said, I would agree with. Just in response to Sean's comments, I find the statement, the Seanad is an irredeemable institution. I don't see how that is anything other than profoundly defeatist. The reality is that there are plans out there that are in the FA. Yes, you mentioned the default plan being slightly different in places than Crown in its opponent. The Crown is in this opponent, Quinn bill. But the reality is there's a lot of overlap between them. There are a lot of similar points being made about universal suffrage, about immigrant voting. There's all these things are in the mix. And I think it's actually to the benefit that we have a little bit of diversity of views that are there. And the second point I want to make is with respect to what makes us think that the Seanad will be reformed now. Well, two things make me know that if the people say no, the Seanad will be reformed. One is that the Seanad now is undergoing a greater deal of scrutiny than it ever has before. We are having a referendum on its abolition, on its very existence. People are thinking about the Seanad in a way that they never have before. It is to the fore. So it is there. It is not on the periphery anymore. It's been to the fore throughout this campaign. The second point is, as I said when I spoke, this government, which I think people from across the political spectrum have noted has been autocratic in its approach. The one thing that they do understand is realpolitik and power politics. And again, nobody disputes the fact that it's about 7% of the people want the status quo. If 93% of the people say that this is an institution that is completely broken, that needs reform, and that's the only way I can interpret a vote. If the polls is 7% saying we want status quo, 93%, either by voting yes to abolition or by voting no, okay? 93% is expressing disapproval of the institution as it is. If Fine Gael doesn't move on reform, that is a massive political liability tied on their neck going into the next general election. They will move. They're going to have to move because that's the one thing that they understand is votes, and they can lose votes if they don't move on.
Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, Ethan?
There are two things really. First of all, if you say that you don't need the Seanad because you have independence to act color to the whole political system, from what I gathered of the Irish system, the independent people are usually the ones that Fine Gael won't let loose anymore because they got they're out of it. So basically, they are not really adding color. And in addition, if you're going to say that the Seanad is not something that we can sustain because it has no power, well, maybe instead of taking everything away, how about getting some benches fixed so this thing can actually fight?
No,
I'm happy to.
yeah, I don't know, see, it's just the fact that, it has never happened. Like never ever, like I really can't stress this enough. Like the Seanad, in terms of the way that it's run, has never really changed, and it's always been kind of just like basically it's kind of seen within the system as because it has no like bite in it, that it is seen as kind of like a retirement home for like to send the politicians who you don't particularly want kind of in the Dáil anymore, or unilateral send them to Europe. But, yeah.
Can I just make a point that if you look at the voting records in the Seanad, those who are most adamant about preserving the Seanad at the moment are those with the most despicable voting record over the last number of years. They have really, as an institution, it has taken the piss out of the Irish people. There is no doubt about that in my mind. And to suggest that we should turn around and create some sort of powerful institution operating in parallel with the Dáil, that is total over-politicisation. I mean, I'm probably the only person, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm probably the only person in this room that runs a business. I'm self-employed. We have academics, we have students. Okay, so I am, obviously. I mean, the notion that my ability to create employment is going to be enhanced one whit by the creation of a powerful Seanad is absolute rubbish. It just doesn't stand up. We have too many bureaucratic institutions in this country. We need to slim it down. We need smart government, because without smart government you will not have a smart economy. So you can recreate a Seanad, fill it up with independent people, and you will end up with an even worse political failure than we already have in this country, in my view.
Yeah.
First of all, the concept of Warren just said, I mean, if you don't trust any meaningful reform, if you hold arguments that no meaningful reforms occur in the past in Shannon, then why would you expect that during the basis of the NSA to occur in the Dáil? Because essentially what you're asking that you have to do is effectively asking attorneys to vote for Christmas. You're effectively asking the political party and the government today to effectively see its own power and its ability to set the Dáil agenda. So I don't see why a party which is obsessed with, or a government which is effectively obsessed with maximum its own power from the Dáil, why it would do that. And then the next point is to talk about voting records. I mean, your argument that it's very big assertion made that just because of their both individual issues that question the judgment you have to. I think that alone is a strong fact.
I was in the Dáil the week before last, and I took a look into the Senate. There was one person standing up speaking. There was one person in the chamber. It's mad. It's absolutely crazy. You know, to think that we want to preserve that sort of system. I mean, when I saw what David Norris said to Regina in the Seanad, I mean, that made up my mind for me. This is an institution that is absolutely worthless.
Well, to be fair, if you want to get rid of it,
Yeah,
that's fine.
Yeah,
yeah, Mike, do you want to
That's quite similar there as well when people watch television and see the Dáil chamber. They quite often see just, a few members of Parliament just sitting in there and they're like, what are they doing? You know quite well that most of the